David, a mystery that seems to not be going away. Why do you think this has grabbed the public's attention to the degree that it has?
I think it's just the fact that she has just vanished, like her partner said, into thin air. Seemingly, the police have had no look in the river. There's been no other sightings of her from the witnesses who've come forward. It's a real just mystery about what's happened.
Yeah, and of course, the fact that we don't know what's happened means that people then start to fill those gaps. And of course, that's one of the massive problems with the police, is that the police try to then fill some of those gaps because they want to try and give some information. And sometimes those words might be slightly loose. I mean, I've been a bit critical of the police officer in relation to that, using the words of balance of probability. You know, those are terminologies that I wouldn't use in policing terms, but it's certainly something that they are using. As far as your readers and people that are concerned, Lancashire itself is a very safe area. I always am concerned when a police officer says, you know, this is such a safe area, you know, bad things don't happen here. But in terms of your position, I mean, I don't know how long you've been at the Lancashire Telegraph, but even some of the nicest areas have had pretty horrific crimes occur.
Yeah, the big towns and big cities, they do have a more typical crime rate that you'd expect in built-up areas. But once you get into the countryside, it is quite a low crime area. But as you say, things can happen in the most unlikely of places, so you can't really rule anything out, to be honest. And like you said, on the police filling the gap, they've been saying things like, we don't want to speculate, and then giving a possible hypothesis. But they have come out and strongly condemned people spreading rumours and theorising and stuff like that. So I think they want to keep it focused on a missing persons appeal at the moment.
Yeah, they've been very clear right from day one to say that this is a missing persons case. Yeah, they don't believe there's any evidence to support otherwise. And they've obviously had that hypothesis that she's fallen into the water. I think today will be a massive day. This will be a turning point for the investigation. We will know by the end of today whether or not Nicola is in that water. And if she isn't in that water, whether or not she has moved downstream to a degree they haven't been able to find. I don't know that area well enough, but what I do know is that Peter and his team will be able to establish by the end of the day whether or not she is in that stretch. And then at that point, it goes back to the police, because the police are then in the position of, well, what is happened here? Because she has simply just vanished. It'll be back to the drawing boards for the police. David, a very difficult time for the family. They, of course, are following the media coverage. And as you said, there are sadly always in these cases people who have wanted to give a view, and sometimes those views can be incredibly harmful and hurtful for the families, can't it?
Yeah, if people suggesting, and there were some people pointing the finger at the partner, which there doesn't seem to be any suggestion at all that he's been involved. I'm sure if he had been, the police would have been quickly onto that, and that must be really upsetting for the family and friends to see if people are pointing the finger at innocent parties. People are just being asked to keep an eye out and share any police appeals, just so that she can be found, hopefully safe and well. It has really brought the county together. Everybody is really concerned about her and her family. So there are some comments that are being made, but it's a very small minority who are causing trouble.
Yeah, I mean, the public have really got behind this, and all the public wants is for answers for the family. And of course, it has gripped people's attention. I think it's really important, just to follow up on your comment. Now, I've dealt with lots and lots of families who have suffered loss. And I can tell you there is no predetermined behavior when you are suffering with grief, when you are suffering in that position of almost the spotlight sits upon you. And loved ones will know that, because what we do know within family situations, when people go missing, when things happen to them, it's important to look at the family. Of course it is. It's important to clear the ground from underneath your feet. And that puts a lot of pressure on individuals. But the police have been very clear in terms of their view that this is her having fallen into the water. They're not looking for anybody else. And as such, the partner is absolutely not involved and ruled out in terms of the police aspect completely. So predetermined behavior is a very difficult thing to look at, and I would warn and give caution to anybody who feels that it's appropriate to look at what the other people have been interviewed, family members, and particularly the partner, and try and predetermine what that is saying.